Hey guys, welcome to Peak Health Revolution. My name is Logan Grundy, and today we are going to talk about the difference between getting movement in and getting exercise in, what the two differences are, how one is kind of a prerequisite to the other. So, step one is movement, step two is exercise. Let's get into that. Basically, the difference between movement and exercise. So, a lot of us, when we start looking at, hey, I want to improve my health, we're really thinking about, like, hey, I need to get out, I need to exercise more, and really putting the focus on that. And there's lots of what we would consider to be like fit, healthy people who are exercising, but they're not getting a whole bunch of movement. So we're going to kind of explain the difference between the two of those and why it's important that we're getting movement and how that's almost step one and more important at the start than the exercise. Exercise is kind of like step two. So how we're gonna kind of define or explain the difference between the two of those is movement is things like getting up and walking around your house, walking around your office, maybe walking for a commute or biking for a commute, things like that. Just getting more movement through our body and walking forward and back, but also moving side to side, twisting, maybe getting down to play with a kid, something like that. It's just moving our body versus exercise. Like, hey, I'm going to the gym and like I'm going to lift these weights at this weight and reps and sets, or I'm going to go out and I'm going to bike, but with like a goal or that intent of like I'm going to keep up this speed for this distance, or maybe you're running, whatever that is. That's kind of there obviously is there's that gray area, that overlap between movement and exercise, but that's how I'm kind of explaining the two is like movement is just like essentially what it sounds like, moving more throughout your day versus the like I get out of bed, I walk to the kitchen, I have breakfast, I sit down for breakfast, I walk to my car, I sit down, I commute, I log into my office, I sit down all day, I walk to my car, I commute, I sit down again in the evening and sit on the couch all day. That is a lack of movement versus I get up, I have breakfast, I do a like 5-10 minute little like stretching movement, yoga type thing. Then I commute to work and I park further away, or if I'm close enough, I bike in or I walk in or whatever that is. And throughout the day, instead of plopping down and sitting there until lunchtime, it's like every hour I get up and I go to the bathroom or I go to get a coffee or a snack or whatever, and basically just giving yourself excuses to get up and move. Or even if I'm sitting here, that I'm sitting here now, maybe next I'm standing for a little bit. I'm standing with one leg forward, one leg back. I'm shifting my weight around. Things like that are going to help us get more movement in through our day versus exercise so much. And then, at lunch, you have your lunch and you go for a little walk while you're waiting for your food to digest and before you have to get back to work. Maybe you go to the park and, I don't know, you go for a little jog or you go play on the monkey bars, whatever you want to do, but getting more movement in throughout that day. And then same thing, you're commuting back. Your commute back looks a little more active. If you work at home, this can easily be like, hey, when I have a little break, I go out into the yard or I walk around the block, something like that. That's your movement side of things, having a movement practice, like just some mobility, some stretching, some dynamic stretching, some movement with stretching, yoga, stuff like that are all more of that movement, which we tend to need more of. Even the people that are exercising regularly aren't getting enough movement in their day. So obviously that exercise piece is basically like your set workout, right? So that's step one, is getting more movement, because a lot of the times what sidelines people with their exercise programs and getting the results that they want is they end up with some kind of an injury or pain or something that keeps them from being able to do that step two, that exercise. And a lot of that comes down to we're not getting enough movement, which leads to imbalances and tightnesses within our body. Whereas when we're moving more, those things start to improve. So um, that's why we want to be as movement friendly, I guess you could say, as possible, and not be stuck in that very sedentary lifestyle that a lot of us are. A lot of us are sitting at a desk all day, and we need to try and break that cycle. Even if we need to spend 8 hours at a desk, we want to be breaking it up for, like, even if you get up for 5 minutes each hour, that's 5 minutes that your muscles get to go to a lengthened position instead of a shortened position, or instead of getting squashed by the seat, they're up and they're active. Things like that will help a ton with generally how your body feels. And when we look at calories burned throughout a day or a week, if you, for example, take somebody who is very sedentary, basically does what I described earlier, where you sit all day, you commute, you sit when you get home, all of those things, but you go out and you exercise or go for a run or a workout 3 times a week, they're actually still going to burn less calories than somebody who is just very movement friendly throughout the entire week and gets 10,000 plus steps every day, but doesn't go and do the workout. They're still going to burn more calories just by moving that 10,000 steps every day and getting more movement in than somebody who's very sedentary and does like spurts of exercise, which can actually be almost like quite dangerous to us and have a higher risk of injury than someone who's moving a lot more, because we're going from basically static. I just spent the last 8 hours sitting at my desk with my hip in a flex position, and now I'm going to go to the gym or run or whatever and potentially do a lot of movement through that hip that it's not really ready for, because we feel rushed into our workout. We got other stuff to do, so we're trying to rush through the warm up of it, and it's just spent 8 hours sitting. So there's definitely that trade-off too, of like that the risk of injury is probably higher for somebody who is very sedentary than someone who moves throughout the day. So that's what we want to try and differentiate and talk about today, is that difference between, yes, exercise is important, but why I kind of like call that like pillar of our health, or that like part of our health, as movement instead of just exercise or workouts, is like we need more movement through the day, not just necessarily more exercise, especially when we're looking at our long-term like health span and like the quality of those years of good health. Is if we're moving lots, we are going to move much better later into our life than if we just hit workouts hard now. And it's something that we can sustain longer too, is just like that general more active lifestyle of movement. So that's what I got for you guys this week. Do your very best to get as much movement in as you can throughout the day. Think about all the small things, getting like 5 minutes of stretching in here or there, or 5 minutes of yoga here or there, extra little walk, park a little bit further, park once and go to 3 different stores and then come back to your vehicle, take the elevator, take the stairs, or sorry, don't take the elevator, take the stairs. All of that stuff, it really does add up into more movement. And most of all, like really try and break up that long hours of sitting at the desk with like, hey, I got up, I moved through whatever range of motion, but I broke that specific pattern and moved into a different position. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you got value from it, hit the like and the subscribe button and share it with a friend that you think needs to get a little bit more movement into their life. This will help them get that in.